Caithfirleach, I'm delighted that both ministers are here to take this debate and statements and the interaction in terms of questions and so on, and the commitment that you'll come back on the other questions that are maybe unanswered. I welcome that. You have a new department, 2 ministers, and I believe an opportunity within COVID-19 to explore all of the possibilities and open education to those that were perhaps locked out of education at 3rd level up to now. A lot will depend on how you approach this and how you fund it. And the commitments that you have given, I accept them in good faith. But I would ask you to look at the last debate that we've had here and this one. For example, you said that children were happy going to school, schools reopened, and they went with a smile. Now, I can point you to children who could not go to school, who, because of a problem within the department in funding the appropriate transport to an ASD unit in Kilkenny and St. Coleman's, in Clara, they're still not back to school. And the 3 families concerned are asking why. Why is the department fighting over perhaps nickels and dimes when they could have the contract in place and that school being serviced, and those children who need education, that they would not be back in school as soon as possible. So these are the small things that make a difference. You mentioned the capital programme, 25 million. Now, the capital programme is essential, but so too is the supports for the students that want to go through 3rd level and go on further and do their masters and go back to education. And it is the cost of education that is preventing them from accessing properly the full range of courses that might be open to them or that might be interested in. And it is also causing them, as a result of that, not to fulfil their own dreams and their own wishes to get on. And perhaps there is a skill set there within those individuals that would be enhanced by virtue of the fact that they have a passion about what they want to do. And that possibility must be opened up to them. And therefore, all 3rd levels should have had the access to the COVID funding, to the laptop funding, and there should have been no ambiguity about it. And I believe that you do need to look at where that funding didn't go and why it wasn't, why those 3rd level institutions were not passed for the funding. In both your contribution and Minister Collins' contribution, you mentioned safety and welfare at work, safety for the student, safety for the teachers and lecturers and those that would attend college. And the interesting thing about that statement is that there are those within the system who lectured, who have been sexually harassed and have been bullied to the point of making a complaint and from there becoming a victim of the system. And these may be legacy issues in some of the colleges, but they do need to be addressed, because you cannot carry on with the same culture or indeed the same set of rules in a world that is changing by the day for all of us. And you need to release those that are caught in that system of complaint or protected disclosure or whatever it might be. And you need to release them from being caught. You need to let them realise their full potential and put something in place that can mediate an outcome. You can't talk about sexual harassment, bullying and intimidation and link it to COVID-19. It's a much bigger picture than that. And it is there as an issue which has been overlooked for years, and now it needs to be addressed. And I think that because you have a separate department, You must bring about a resolution to that issue. You mentioned accountability and oversight. Well, during the hearings on the Public Accounts Committee, Mr Boland attended, and he has some history in relation to Waterford IT. And I would hope that that baggage from the past will not interfere with the very valuable work that he has now to do in terms of Carlow and Waterford. It is absolutely essential that you keep a political handle on the developments in relation to both of those colleges to ensure that Carlow and Waterford can play a very central role in education for the country, education for the South East, and in bringing forward the campus that will be necessary in Kilkenny for the future of the technological university and how it will perform. It is absolutely essential that we get it, as you say, on the 1st of January 2022. Accountability and oversight is also necessary in terms of the legacy issues in those colleges. So in both Carlow and Waterford, the HR issues need to be addressed. The money that is, maybe that they're in the red in one college and not in the other, that needs to be addressed. And I think until you address in a realistic way with funding these issues, then we will not overcome the problem of that amalgamation or the establishment of that technological university. So we need to face up to it, and we need to be honest about it and truthful. And in recognising the truth will come the solution to the problem. And then let's all move on for the betterment of the people that we represent in the context of university status and indeed the opening up of universities for those that have not had the opportunity in the past. School transport was also mentioned. Digital courses were mentioned here, courses online. Well, in order to achieve that, on one side in the primary and secondary, you have a transport system which is not transparent, which does not deliver, which is not giving value for money. And it needs to be reformed as soon as possible. And those that are waiting for places, be they concessionary tickets or not, they need to be told that they will have transport to the school. It is a national scandal the way that that transport system is operating and excluding young people from attending the schools. It is not a modern system. It requires a reform. And until that happens, we will be excluding some families and individuals from the education that they deserve to have. And that is another example of a simple decision being made to reform. The process may be complex, but it can be achieved.
Thank you, Deputy.
And finally, I would just support the calls that have been made for the reform of the SUSI grant system,
Thank you, Deputy.
which again is out of date and out of step with modern society.